You went through some of the MLB player poll list. So 100 players were polled, which, if you think about it, it's not really that many in terms of Major League Baseball. But they were asked a series of questions. We went through the worst organization that you heard about or whatever with the White Sox. Who's the best player in baseball? 46% said Shohei Ohtani. 26.5% said Ronald Acuna Jr. Others getting votes were Mookie Betts, Aaron Judge, Mike Trout. Bryce Harper got 1 vote.
Listen, it can't be Mike Trout anymore. He just can't play.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like you can't. It can't. And he was off to a good start this year, but he's hurt again. It can't be. Mookie, I think, could be on that list. Acuna, unfortunately, is hurt again for the rest of the year. This is what, twice in the last 4 years? He's torn an ACL. That's ended his season. Like, I think it's Shohei or Judge. I think, Judge at least plays the field and plays a corner outfield somewhat well. And I think there is value in that. It's hard to say anybody other than Shohei, especially if he comes back a year from now and he's pitching again. I don't know how much he's going to pitch, guys, in the coming years. I really don't. I think he's just too valuable as a hitter. And I guess even if he gets hurt, you could say, well, what difference does it make? So he tears it again. He still hits. He still DHs. Maybe that's true. But just for overall wear and tear of the body, something tells me they're going to take the approach that he's just too damn good and too dangerous as a hitter. And everything we can do to prolong that through this massive contract will benefit us. And if that means you go to the plate 4 or 5 times every day and run the bases, and that's it, and you're never playing the field, and you're never getting ready for a start, and you're never conditioning your body and your arm to pitch 30 starts or 180 innings a year, like, I just think ultimately the investment they've made that's made more sense despite the gobs of money they gave him to potentially do both. I think someday you're just going to see him hit. But he's so good as a hitter, he still might be the best. You look at what he brings in terms of WAR, he just hits. It's remarkable where he stacks up. But that seems like a pretty good list. And if it's not Shohei right now, it sure feels like it's either Judge or Soto, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of feels that way.
The most overrated player.
Oh, I like this.
Is it Jazz or Yaz?
Jazz Chisholm.
I know. 20% of the vote, getting the overwhelming majority of the vote. 20%. Anthony Rendon got 10%. Carlos Correa, 6.7%. This was surprising.
Now that's a good one. I mean, at this point, Anthony Rendon, who says Anthony Rendon's good anymore?
I mean, people say he's overrated.
I don't know how you can be overrated. Nobody even says he's good.
Yeah. Tim Anderson got 5% of the vote.
That's not shocking.
And Pete Alonso got 3.3% of the vote. So did Cody Bellinger.
Well, I can see that, gents. I can.
But also,
both.
who's saying Tim Anderson's overrated? Like, to your point about Anthony Rendon.
Nobody. Nobody's saying Tim Anderson's good anymore.
Who's saying he's good?
I think you could look at Bellinger and Alonso and say, oh, those players are slightly overrated. I think in the minds of the general public, they might think, and they're very good players. I mean, I still think Cody Bellinger's a good player. He still brings a lot of defensive versatility, but they definitely fall into the overrated category. Yeah. And that's not an insult. I don't mean that as an insult, but I definitely see that.
And so these were questions submitted by readers. So readers submitted these questions to The Athletic, and then they pulled the question. I think this one was submitted by Smokey, a.k.a. Justin Pottinger, a.k.a. Spicoli. Putting aside their stats and going solely on vibes, who do you want most on your team?
I love it. Vibes.
Mookie Betts is the leader there with 13% of the vote.
Let me ask you, can I guess a few of these?
Yeah.
This is on vibes.
Vibes alone, man.
Mookie Betts. Did Ellie De La Cruz get any votes?
No.
Did Tatis?
Ellie De La Cruz got 1 vote.
He got 1 vote.
Yes.
Did Tatis, or is he too toxic with some of the things? No. Oh my God. Hold on. These are all position players, Adam?
Yes.
Did Ozzie Albies get any?
No.
I'm not going to be like, go ahead.
Why don't you just tell me
Why don't you just tell me where it's
Shohei Ohtani came in second with 6% of the votes, and then Ronald Acuna Jr., Bryce Harper, Aaron Judge, Kyle Schwarber all got 4%.
Schwarbs.
Mike Trout. I guess there are pitchers. Lance Lynn. got some votes.
Dude, Schwarbs is a good one. I'm glad he's on that list.
Schwarbs is a good one. Yeah.
Schwarbs is full of good vibes. He's happy, right? He's happy-go-lucky. He just hits dingers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. He's like, I'm going to strike out 200 times. I'm also going to hit 45 bombs. Go F yourself. I love Schwarber.
There were some yes or no questions. Evaluate this statement yes or no. Anthony Rendon was right. The season is too long. 70% said no.
Oh, wow. I would have thought that that would have been a little different. But that's,
maybe players are smart enough that if they shorten the season, that they will make less money.
That's true. It probably would mean less in their
That was the
pocket.
other thing. It was, do you want a salary cap? And everyone said no.
Of course not.
No.
They don't. But the whole system is flawed in baseball because you have these stupid tax thresholds and you have this, you've got some teams that are willing to go there, others aren't, and then you don't have to spend a minimum amount. While I could see them not wanting a cap, I bet you they'd love to have a floor, but you don't even have that. And it's just all messed up in baseball. The economics of it are all screwy, if you ask me. I'm not smart enough to be able to fix it, but it just seems screwy.
Last one, and this was a hot topic this weekend, obviously because of Caitlin Clark and the Olympics, but should Major League Baseball shut down mid-season so players can participate in the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles, so in 4 years from now? It was kind of split. Only 53% said no. Where 47%.
That's almost right there.
Yeah, 47% said yes.
I'm trying to think how would we mind that? Like a 3-week baseball break so they could play in the Olympics?
You'd have to cut games at that point.
It wouldn't be like we would still watch baseball because the American team would be playing, in the Olympics.
Yeah.
So
I think it's
for fans, there wouldn't be a break.
And Adam's right. You're not at that point. You're not saying we'll pick up the season in 3 weeks. You can't play your World Series at the end of November.
No.
Right? I mean, you just can't. Like, what if it's a cold weather city? You can't do that. So at that point, you'd probably be truncating the season.
You'd
right?
either have to truncate
By
the
3
season or
weeks?
start it earlier, which is still a
that
problem
sucks
because
too.
of weather.
Yeah, that sucks too. I wouldn't mind it. And so if they said to us, hey, listen, it's only going to be a 140 game season, that's not maybe the worst thing.
You could save a week if you said we're not going to do an all-star break.
I guess.
Like if you just said we're naming all-stars this year, that's kind of it.
You chop like 10 or 12 games off of the
Here's
season
your
or
all-star
something.
team. They're playing in the Olympics.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of that list and Tim Anderson and the falls from grace, we talked about Chris Bryant. I mean, think about 2 Chicago guys. Do you realize Tim Anderson this year, and who's watched the Marlins, right, guys? Do you realize Tim Anderson is a negative 1.2 player right now?
Bad.
In 48 games. I don't even know how that's possible. He's slashing 188, 221, 206. What the hell happened? In 2020, that was the COVID season, so it was short. But in 2020, his OPS plus was 140. He backed it up the next year with a $118. He's at 21 this year.
Bad.
21. What is happening? I mean, Chris Bryant got hit in the head. What happened to Tim Anderson? Oh, my God. 312-332-3776. Adam also touched on Caitlin Clark. I want to discuss that with you guys coming up next because that was quite the thing on Saturday. That's the Lunch Rush.